I wasn't even going to make this video because the headline sounds dramatic, almost too dramatic. Iran destroyed Israel's only operating oil refinery. That sounds like total collapse, like lights out, like one strike changed everything overnight. But when you slow it down, the real story is more dangerous than the headline because it's not about one explosion. It's about what Iran chose to hit, how it hit it, and what that tells you about where this war is going next. So let's anchor this fast. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps claimed it fired Kheibar Shekan ballistic missiles at Israel's Haifa oil refinery, the largest refining facility in the country, which reportedly supplies around 50–60% of Israel's domestic fuel. News 24. This is not some random industrial target. This is the heart of Israel's fuel system. And even though claims of total destruction are often exaggerated in war, there is verified context here that matters. This refinery has been damaged in past Iranian strikes, pipelines and infrastructure have been hit before, and even partial shutdowns can ripple across the entire system. The times of Israel. So the real question is not, was it destroyed? The real question is, why did Iran choose this target, and why does it matter now? Because this strike reveals three things. First, Iran has shifted from symbolic retaliation to economic warfare. Second, it's using precision ballistic missiles like Kheibar Shekan to hit strategic infrastructure, not just cities. And third, it's testing whether Israel and its allies can protect the systems that actually keep the country running. That's the real story. Let's start with the first reason. This was not just a military strike. This was economic warfare. Because when you hit an oil refinery, you're not just damaging metal. You're attacking fuel supply, transport, electricity chains, industrial output, civilian stability. That's the concrete example. The Haifa refinery isn't just another facility. It's the central processing hub that feeds a huge portion of Israel's fuel demand. News 24. If that system gets disrupted, even partially, you don't just see flames. You see consequences. Fuel shortages, rising costs, pressure on military logistics, pressure on civilian life. And here's the punchline. Iran didn't try to match Israel missile for missile. It tried to hit something Israel depends on every single day. That's a completely different strategy, because destroying tanks slows an army, but destabilizing energy hits the entire country. And this is not happening in isolation. There's a clear pattern. Israel struck Iran's energy infrastructure first. Oil depots, gas facilities, even parts of major energy fields, causing fires and production disruptions. Wikipedia. Then Iran responded the same way, not just in Israel, but across the region, targeting energy infrastructure in multiple countries, which pushed oil prices higher and disrupted global markets. AP News. That's escalation, not just military escalation, energy escalation. And once both sides start hitting energy systems, the war stops being local. It becomes global. That's why this first reason matters so much. This wasn't revenge, this was strategy. Now let's move to the second reason, because this is where the weapon itself becomes important. Iran didn't just hit a refinery, it used a very specific missile to do it. The Kheibar Shekan. And this is where people get distracted. They hear the name and think it's some mythical superweapon. It's not, but it is designed for something very specific. Precision, survivability, and the ability to hit high-value targets from distance. That's the key, because oil refineries are not soft targets. They are hardened, monitored, and often defended. You don't hit them by accident. You hit them because you can guide something through defenses and into something that matters. That's the concrete example. Iran publicly claimed it used Kheibar Shekan solid-fuel ballistic missiles in this strike, missiles designed to travel fast, maneuver, and deliver payloads with enough accuracy to hit infrastructure, not just general areas. Money control. And here's the punchline. This wasn't about hitting Israel, it was about hitting what Israel runs on. That's a different level of targeting, because once a country shows it can hit infrastructure reliably, Every future strike carries more weight, not just because of damage, because of expectation. Now every refinery, every port, every pipeline becomes a potential target. And that changes behavior. Markets react, insurance reacts, military planners react, governments react. That's how pressure multiplies. And this is where a lot of people miss the bigger shift. This war is no longer about territory, it's about systems. Who can keep their systems running? Who can disrupt the other side's systems faster? And who breaks first under that pressure? Now let's get to the third reason, because this is the most important one. This strike tests something deeper than damage. It tests control, because modern warfare is built on a promise. The promise is, we can defend our critical infrastructure. That's the image every advanced military wants to project. We can intercept missiles, we can protect cities, we can keep the system stable, but when a refinery gets hit, even partially, that image cracks. Not completely, but enough. And that's where the psychological effect kicks in, because people don't think in percentages. They think in outcomes. One hit feels like failure, even if 10 were stopped. That's the concrete example. Even past strikes that only damaged parts of the Haifa refinery, pipelines, transmission lines, forced shutdowns of certain units, even while the facility kept operating. The Times of Israel. That's how fragile perception is. Operations continue, but confidence drops. And here's the punchline. In modern war, perception damage spreads faster than physical damage. That's what Iran is targeting, not just infrastructure. Confidence in infrastructure. Because once people start asking, can we really protect this? You've already changed the battlefield. Now, to be fair, there is a counterpoint, and it matters. This was not the total destruction of Israel's energy system. Israel has redundancy, backup systems, alternative supply chains, and past attacks have shown that even damaged facilities can continue operating, at least partially. The Times of Israel. So anyone saying Israel is out of fuel is oversimplifying. But that doesn't weaken the story, it sharpens it. Because the real impact is not total collapse, it's cumulative pressure. Each strike adds stress, each disruption adds cost. Each vulnerability forces more defense, more spending, more caution. And that's exactly what Iran is trying to create, not a knockout, a grind. Now step back for a second, because this is the part most people miss completely. This strike is part of a pattern. Energy for energy. Israel hits Iranian oil and gas. Iran hits Israeli and regional energy. And suddenly the war expands beyond missiles and soldiers. It becomes a war over supply. And supply chains don't stay local. They ripple outward. We've already seen oil prices spike above $110 a barrel as attacks spread across energy infrastructure in the region. AP News. That's not just a Middle East problem, that's a global problem, because energy is not just about fuel. It's about everything: transport, manufacturing, electricity, food prices, markets. That's why this matters far beyond Haifa. Now let's bring this down to the simplest possible terms. Iran didn't reveal a superweapon, it revealed a strategy. Hit the systems, not just the targets. Stretch the pressure, not just the damage. Force the opponent to defend everything, not just respond to anything. And that's a much harder problem, because defending everything is expensive, and exhausting, and slow, and over time, that cost adds up. So here's the clean recap. Iran struck Israel's largest oil refinery in Haifa using Kheibar Shekan missiles, targeting a facility that supplies a major share of Israel's fuel. News 24. This matters because, 1. This is economic warfare, not just military retaliation. 2. It shows Iran can target strategic infrastructure with precision missiles. 3. It pressures confidence in Israel's ability to protect critical systems. And none of that requires total destruction, just disruption, just pressure, just enough impact to make every next strike feel more dangerous than the last. And that leaves one question. If this war is now shifting toward energy systems instead of just military targets, who actually runs out of resilience first?